in a moment. And I am also need to add a spotlight for me so you can see me in full size. I was supposed to do that for Angelo. Sorry, Angelo.
That's all right.
As Angelo says, thank you for joining us. We hope to give you almost the same experience as if you were here walking through the building with us, as we've done with many hundreds of guests over the years. Use the chat box for questions. We're going to take some time at the end and try to address any questions. We're going to keep everybody on mute during the tour, but do ask questions in the chat as you have them. Also note that there's a couple of spots in the building where our wireless access might get a little sketchy, so we may lose Anthony and Melanie, who are walking us through, but I'm in a separate place, so I should be able to stay on, and we'll keep everybody safe from getting lost in the internet. As we entered the building, you were looking really around us there at the mountaintop campus of Lehigh University. This campus, about 8 buildings, were built by Bethlehem Steel in the 1950s. And this was really Bethlehem Steel's research campus. They put it up on the top of the mountain and guarded it. It was their skunk works property here in order to conduct their proprietary research. And these were very productive buildings until the early 1980s, when, like many Pennsylvania manufacturers, Bethlehem Steel was in decline, facing much more aggressive global competition. And ironically, to combat that industrial decline is really what prompted the creation of the Ben Franklin program. It was created in 1982, really launched in 1983. When our Ben Franklin, we rented a 10,000 square foot building from Bethlehem Steel, which is right across the street from where we're located now. By 1986, just a few years later, Bethlehem Steel was further in decline, and they really sold the whole campus to Lehigh University in 1986. And at that time, we went from being a tenant of Bethlehem Steel to being a tenant of Lehigh. And that's where we were for about 20 years, as Bethlehem Steel continued to rent the building that we're currently standing in. They were renting it back from Lehigh at the time. And but in our smaller building, we had built a very active incubator. More than 100 companies had gone through that facility, including some names familiar to people in the Lehigh Valley: Computer Aid, OraSure, IQE. These are large employers, and a couple of those companies are public now, in fact. Meanwhile, after selling the campus, Bethlehem Steel had rented back the building that we're in, but by 2005, they gave this building up as well. They had been acquired. And at that moment, Ben Franklin bought the building from Lehigh. We renovated it and really changed the nature of our program, going from 10,000 to 60,000 square feet of space. You'll see as we walk through here, there's a tremendous amount of lab space in this building, which has been a real benefit to attracting additional clients. We filled the building far quicker than we expected, and by the time the Great Recession hit in 2009, we were ready to add on, and we basically doubled the space at that time. And then we added a final piece in 2017. So by the end of 2017, we had invested a little over $30 million and grew our space from 10,000 rented square feet to 130,000 square feet of space that we currently own. And this is the lobby that you're taking a look at. Just glanced past our receptionist's office there. She takes care of all of the guests and the packages. She is the hostess with the mostest. Is that the phrase? I'm not quite sure if that's the right phrase. You'll see lots of familiar incubator attributes here that you see in a lot of incubator programs. As Anthony gets here to the left, there's a mail room and delivery room and kitchen. So this is where tenants all have a chance to meet and interact and pick up their mail and interact throughout the day. We still have a fax machine, which is always makes us chuckle that the fax machine still works there and it gets used. Some of the medical companies actually have to send things by fax. One of the great attributes of the building is a cafe. This is Heroes Cafe, run by a delightful couple from Ecuador. They serve, there's a wave from Javier. You'll see when we conclude the tour up on the 4th floor, there's a large conference center there, and they do all of the catering for the events that occur up there, as well as serving lunch throughout the day. Hello, that was Melanie. We didn't get a chance to say hello to Melanie. She's our chief technology officer most days, but today she's kind of the door holder and wrangler of the camera as we wander through the building here. Angelo mentioned the football field length hallway, and you're standing in one here now. This is about 300 feet long, and all down the right-hand side here are lab spaces. The labs are generally 250 square feet. So these are not large labs, but most of these are wet labs. So they have chemical fume hoods, lots of plumbing, lots of electrical capabilities. Compressed air lines and vacuum lines serve most of these labs, so that companies can just plug and play their equipment that they've got. That's actually one of our larger clients in the building that's been here a long time. We call that an anchor tenant. It's Saladex. This is a diagnostics company that has started life developing diagnostics to measure the level of chemotherapy in a cancer patient's bloodstream so that docs could more accurately dose the chemotherapies that they're receiving. More recently, they've evolved into an antipsychotic drug monitoring diagnostic company as well, and they're making great progress in that market. And we are going to stop here at our first company. This is Muscle Polymers, and we're going to hear a little bit about making things stick together underwater.
Everyone, my name is Jason Steeg. I'm one of the co-founders of Muscle Polymers. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about our technology and show you how we're applying it here in the lab. So Muscle Polymers technology is built on the technology, well, not the technology, but the biology of muscles and the proteins and the chemistries that they use, that they've developed over the last 500 million years to be able to stick to things underwater. There's been an explosion of research around these muscle-inspired adhesives. Typically, researchers have been using a research agent called polydopamine. Polydopamine is a very close mimic to the biology and to the proteins that the muscles produce. However, there's one major problem with polydopamine, and that is it cannot be commercialized. It can't be packaged, it cannot be produced at scale. So the breakthrough of Muscle Polymers is being able to synthesize a biomimetic polymer that can be made commercially at scale. We've simplified this polymer by taking the active moiety, which are called catechins, and putting them on a synthetic backbone. We're making this polymer now here at the labs at Ben Franklin on kilogram scale and using it for a whole host of applications. So we can take this polymer here and we can dissolve it in a variety of solvents to make adhesive formulations, or to make a primer.
And we have hit one of those spots. Anthony, I don't know if you're aware, but we've got a frozen video here, Anthony.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Is that better?
Is that better?
Yeah.
That is better.
Good.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
So we filed intellectual property on this patent, on this primer technology last year. And it allows us to do is by just putting a very thin film of our polymer on a surface. Now this might be very difficult to see. I've just put down our solution here. And what you'll see here is a very thin film. I don't know if it's going to show up. This film is on the order of a micron, but despite the fact that it's very thin, it radically changes the surface properties of these materials. And what this allows me to do is to take this piece of metal underwater and using an adhesive, actually glue together. You can see the adhesive wants to stick to that polymer. That adhesive wants to stick right to that polymer coating. And then I can glue these two primed pieces of metal together underwater. So what we'll do then is make a series of experiments with some primed, unprimed substrates And we have the ability to quadruple or quintuple the adhesive bonding strength of aluminum, steel, and other substrates underwater. So one of the major applications we're going after is coral restoration. NOAA's indicated that the number one barrier to our coral reefs is a good underwater bonding adhesive. So with this custom coral glue, we can take our little coral fragments, and we have our polymer coating surface, and very rapidly propagate our corals. And I've got a few curing over here. What's really nice about this adhesive is immediately has a lot of tack underwater. So you see I've got just a plastic cup, plastic very notoriously difficult to bond to, especially wet plastic. And immediately I've got a nice, and this adhesive will cure to a few hundred pounds per square inch. So that's what we're doing in the coral, some industrial applications. Lastly, one of the major areas of focus is biomedical. So here, we're setting up a whole bunch of zirconia. Zirconia, used for a lot of dental implants now, is very difficult to bond to, and it's a big need in the dental area. So we talked a lot about the adhesive properties of the polymer. As it turns out, this polymer has a number of other amazing properties which make it viable for biomedical applications. So here in our incubator, we've coated some substrates in a thin layer of our polymer. And what you see on the surface there, this has been soaked in a artificial saliva solution. Those formations are hydroxyapatite crystals. So this polymer has shown the ability to stimulate the neogenesis of hydroxyapatite, which could help with bone tooth remineralization. So thanks for stopping by. It was very exciting to share our technology with you.
Thanks. Thanks for taking your time with us here. And what I failed to tell the guests is that there's actually a pop quiz here at the end.
Yeah.
And so I hope you were all taking notes about hydroxyapatite and biomimicry.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And you know, the products that Muscle Polymers is this is Angelo Valletta again, that has developing not only the restoration of coral reefs, but the impact in the dental industry, roofing industry, and others is just going to be fantastic. All being done, that research and proof of concept being done right here in our TechVentures location. So back to Wayne and Anthony.
Thanks, Angelo. We are running into one of those spots where we may lose folks, or we're going to lose Anthony probably in the elevator with the camera. We walked into sort of the new part of the building, what we refer to as TechVentures 2. So this was that first addition that we did in the Great Recession. We walked down the first floor on the original side of the building, and now we'll go up and take a walk through the second side. You know, one of the companies, we can't stop at them all. One of them that we passed, we'll hear a little bit more about in a bit, is called Ideal Semiconductor. They're down there on that first floor as well, developing power saving chips that will be used in a host of applications, from automobiles and the large server farms, et cetera. We'll hear a little bit more about them as we make our move up to the fourth floor. So one of the things we like to talk about here is the gold LEED certified aspect of this part of the building. We built it to those standards. A big part of achieving that is, you see these shelves above the windows here. These are very functional. They are light shelves, and basically the top of those reflect light that's coming in from above, and it bounces to the ceiling to add light into the space so that you can reduce your energy consumption. And there are light sensors throughout that tell the fluorescent fixtures that, hey, you don't need to be on full force right now. You can be reduced, because we've got a lot of natural lighting. So the building, the HVAC system, the shades throughout this part of the building, the lighting, all really work together to minimize energy consumption and cost. startles some of the new tenants moving into the building when their shades start to move up and down on their own, but they get used to that after a short period. I started talking about the lab spaces. Most of those, the one we were standing in is 250 square feet. We charge $18 a square foot for those spaces, and that's really a gross lease. So other than some cost for phones and internet, all of the expenses are included in that very low rate for all of the amenities that we're having a look at here. The office space is even a little bit less expensive when we get started. We're going to meet Elodie here from VaxForm. Hi, Elodie.
Hi. So VaxForm is an early stage vaccine biotech company. We specialize in vaccine formulation and development of mostly preclinical vaccine products. We provide consulting and contract development services, and also have our own internal vaccine technologies and vaccine products and projects. One of them is a vaccine for group A strep bacteria. And another technology that we have is our oral vaccine delivery platform. This is a platform that allows oral administration of vaccines and improves their thermostability. We've applied that platform to, it can be applied to many different targets and viruses or bacteria. And we've applied it to a DTaP vaccine. And lately, in the past couple of years, we've shifted focus for oral COVID-19 vaccines.
So DTaP?
DTaP, diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, it's a common infant vaccines.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. So we go through our main office and lab area.
DTaP, everybody write that down.
So this is our main lab area. Here we have just typical equipment like balances, pipettes, centrifuges, a chemical hood right behind you.
No, you're good. You're good.
And so this is kind of where we make our vaccine formulations in test tubes and do the early work when we test different formulations. We have a chemical hood right here. Here we have a biosafety cabinet. This allows us to prepare vaccine formulation in aseptic conditions to keep everything sterilized and sterile. And so here we can prepare small lots, small batch of vaccines, and we can send them out to contract facilities that perform animal studies. So we can test our different formulations, test out their potency and efficacy, usually in mice or rabbits, small animals. This is part of the process in vaccine development. And when we then get back the serum, the blood collections from those animal studies, and we do the analysis here in this lab also to see how much we test the antibody response of the different vaccines, and then we can further optimize the formulation of those vaccines. Over here, we have an additional space for instruments and stability chambers here. So one thing that we specialize in here that we have expertise in is to make vaccine stable at high temperature, or at least at ambient temperature. As we've seen, the one big challenge of mRNA vaccines, for example, with COVID, is that they required really ultra cold storage at -80 Celsius. That obviously created a big challenge in distribution and storage. One of our expertise is to make vaccines more stable to ambient temperatures and higher temperatures. So we have those chambers where we put our vaccine formulations at different temperatures. Ambient is 25°C, 37 or 40°C, even higher. So we can compare our different formulations and then see which one is ideal, optimal. You know, we have those instruments over here. We have a spectrophotometer and instruments that measure particle size as small as in the nanometer range, and that allows us to test those vaccine formulations. If they have aggregated or degraded, those instruments will tell us. And here actually have a vial of the oral vaccine 19 dose that we've tested in phase 1 in clinical trials in New Zealand. And so this is one vaccine so this is about 10 milliliters. So it's a third of an ounce dose that we can just drink. And we have, so far we've seen that it's stable at ambient temperature, about 25°C for a year. So that beats the -20.
That's awesome.
So this is one of the big benefits of this vaccine. In addition, that it doesn't require a medical professional to inject it. You know, you can just self-administer it, but the stability is also very important.
Thank you, Elodie.
Thanks,
Fantastic.
Elodie.
Right.
Thank you.
It's, you know, I'll tell you, just to make everybody jealous, I mean, having a chance to work with people like Elodie and Jason and the kinds of technology that we see on a daily basis here, and you really understand where some of the incredible breakthroughs comes from, you know, a few hundred square feet of lab space, sometimes on a little mountain in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So it's always a thrill.
And that's for sure, Wayne, if I can add in the impact of that oral vaccination, right? You know, to where it doesn't need to be administered by medical professionals, that it doesn't need to have the capabilities of sub-zero refrigeration and things of that nature. It's just amazing. Well, you know, we're very blessed to live in the greatest country in the world, where we're able to administer vaccines to individuals that want the vaccine. Worldwide, we don't have that capabilities and the infrastructure. And for an organization to be able to have an oral vaccination is just incredible. And to be in the same building with those scientists and those individuals, it's just incredible. So just wanted to add a couple commentary there while Anthony was getting into one of our beautiful, incredible conference rooms. Back to you, Wayne.
Yeah, I was kidding all of you about having a pop quiz, but for us, there's kind of almost a pop quiz every day as we these companies and try to keep up with them.
Sure.
We're in one of 7 conference rooms that are available to the clients in the building. Lots of technology. We'll talk more about the technology amenities in a little bit here, but these conference rooms, I think our smallest one probably seats 6, and then we've got a larger one that seats up to 25 or so. And then of course you'll see the whole conference suite up on the 4th floor, but ceiling mounted projectors. These conference rooms are schedulable via the web by the clients. We don't charge them anything for use. So it's quite an amenity for them to be able to meet potential investors, potential partners in these conference rooms, while the chaos sometimes of their lab space or office space is kept hidden from view. We will probably lose our camera here for a moment while we go up to the 4th floor. I'll go back to the Ideal Semiconductor story. The reason we're going to the 4th floor from the 2nd, we're skipping the 3rd, that's a large office space that's occupied by Texas Instruments. Texas Instruments, what are they doing in a small business incubator? They acquired one of our startups 7 or 8 years ago, more than doubled the size of the staff at that point. Interestingly, the company that they acquired had 3 co-founders, one of whom was Mark Granahan. The company was called Cyclone Semiconductor. After the acquisition and after Mark spent some time at TI as he was obligated to do, he started another semiconductor company, which many of our founders go on to do. And Mark now is one of the co-founders of Ideal Semiconductor. So he brought that business back into TechVentures, and we've provided some funding and some assistance to those folks. We're up on the fourth floor here. I've talked about the conference facilities a couple of times, and here we are. This floor holds can hold hundreds of people. One of the events that we have every year here is called Venture Idol, and it's an event that showcases 7 or 8 of our companies that are actively raising money. We have an afternoon event where they have a chance to pitch to, typically we've had 40 or 50 investors in the room. Those investors are able to then select their 3 favorites who pitch to a much larger general audience later in the evening. And we have fun. The audience gets a chance to basically invest. Each person gets to invest $100 among the 3 companies. So it's a little Shark Tank meets American Idol type of an event that goes on. And it's always a lot of fun. This is one of the 2 large conference rooms. This isn't the largest, but one of the 2 large conference rooms available to organizations that are certainly involved in economic development in the region. Our clients occasionally use this. I mentioned Saladex earlier. They have their shareholder meeting. Several of our other clients hold when they've got a larger board or a group of shareholders, they'll use the space. Lehigh University, of course, we engage significantly with them, and they bring a variety of groups to the space. Again, this floor, when you're holding events, breakfast, lunch can all be catered by the folks that we met downstairs, Heroes Cafe. We're entering what we call the solarium, just a beautiful room with a skylight that brings in the light and really provides a wonderful venue here, especially in conjunction with the conference room next door. So this is a great room to host the networking. If you've got some cocktails or just hosting the food in this room is always a nice feature. And these are available again to outside groups. And so we can put you in touch with the right folks. If you leave a question in the chat, we can make sure that you get in touch with Evelyn. We're taking
as Anthony's panning, you were saying about the available, that we have an incredible parking garage there, double decker with the availability of many cars to be able to be parked. So that's really leveraged for the events that we have here at TechVentures. Back to you, Wayne.
Yeah, no, that was the construction of that deck was part of the construction of this part of the building as well. Again, it was an exciting day for us. We had, at the time, Vice President Joe Biden was here. We had received a large $6 million grant from the U.S. Department of Commerce to help us construct this building. At the time, the federal government was providing a lot of stimulus to the economy. Shovel ready was sort of the term behind it. Our place was actually shovel ready. It was an exciting time. Second large conference room up here. You see, this one is oriented a little bit differently. We've held events like startup weekends and hackathons, and the final demo day has ended up in this room, partly because uniquely we've got 2 podiums at the front and 2 screens, and so you can alternate as you got a presenter coming up to one podium and presenting. The second presenter or next presenter can come up to the other podium and get set up and be ready to go. Again, just real quick on the technology amenities in here. In the whole building, I had to look at these numbers twice because I couldn't believe some of this stuff. We have 27 LCD display monitors throughout the building, 11 high definition video cameras, 4 high definition ceiling mounted laser projectors, 3 in-room computer systems with audio video conferencing capabilities. I mentioned the Lutron, the smart building aspect of it. That is all controlled by Lutron's lighting and shade control system. We didn't get a look at it. I don't know if we can quite see it because of the angle, but we've got 4 EV car chargers outside the building here. Can you see those, Anthony, from there?
Probably in a second.
Okay, they're kind of right below where we're standing. There
There
they
they
are.
go.
No smart cars, no electric cars being charged at the moment, but
I should have plugged my car in for you.
yeah, a good prop. Could have been a good prop. So we're coming into the final room. This is the large room. This is part of that 2017 addition, 4-story addition onto the building. We really needed a place where we could host Venture Idol in particular. We've had hopefully this fall when we get back to in person, we'll get back to about a 220, 230 person event in this room. Always just a great evening.
Okay.
I'll just remind you again here as I hand it off to Angelo for some concluding remarks. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat. I know I've seen a little bit of interaction in the chat now. I'll see if there's questions there, but Angelo, we'll turn it back
Thank
to
you,
you.
Wayne.
Take us
Thank
home.
you. And Anthony, could I just ask you to walk slowly back to the plaque on the wall? This room has been named the R. Chadwick Paul room. That is our previous long time, almost 2 decades, previous CEO of Ben Franklin Technology Partners of Northeast PA. He is on the phone. He is muted, unfortunately, but what I would be remiss if I did not mention that this incredible almost 130,000 square foot facility was the vision of Chad's over many years, 3 expansions and so forth. So wanted to just thank Chad publicly once again and appreciate and celebrate his accomplishments for putting together an incredible facility. So with that, I'd like to really just make some closing comments that, as you've seen, Ben Franklin Technology Partners and our TechVentures brings together entrepreneurs, Ben Franklin staff, university faculty, and students to grow Northeastern Pennsylvania's technology ecosystem. Ben Franklin's team supports TechVentures resident companies with strategic and business guidance, connections to angel investors and venture capitalists, and links our networks of colleges, universities, and other experts. Business incubators help early stage firms win the incredibly difficult fight to succeed in the marketplace. It's about improving people's lives by creating highly paid, sustainable jobs that are 52% greater than the average non-farm payroll. And it's about innovation, creating products and processes that improve the human condition. And it's about the spirit of entrepreneurship, which will continue in the region for years to come at Ben Franklin TechVentures. Our Ben Franklin companies and Ben Franklin organization return $3.90 for every dollar that's invested in each one of the Bens. So with that, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Please go ahead and enter any of your final questions or comments in the chat box. We'll hang around for just a few more minutes, but thank you for joining us today at the incredible Ben Franklin Technology Partners Northeastern PA's TechVentures. Thank you.
Thanks, Angelo. I am seeing a lot of thank yous from the crowd, but I'm not seeing any quizzes. John Hoback has a hand up. Is that a hand or an applause, John?
Oh,
it was applause.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Well, we certainly thank you all for joining us today. We hope that this was interesting for you to take a look at, and feel free to reach out to any of us anytime. Well, really for just about anything.
Yeah, and we'll do this in another 6 months. We'll have 2 different organizations that we can showcase here at our virtual tour. We'll do this a couple times a year, but thank you very much and have a wonderful and great rest of your day. Be well. Thank you.
Thanks all.